Note to writer. Please designate the generated output as an audio file, specifically titled IBPS PO 2026 Section 1 English Q1 to Q30 audio.
So, imagine you're at a dinner party, right? And you just casually drop the sentence, "It is I who am to blame." I mean, people would probably look at you like you just stepped out of a Victorian time machine. It sounds completely unnatural.
Oh, totally. Yeah, nobody actually talks like that in real life.
Right. But here's the thing. If you don't say it exactly like that on the IBPS PO exam, you are going to lose crucial marks. So welcome to this deep dive into the English language section of the IBPS CRP PO/MT 2026 Model Paper 09.
It's really the perfect example of that massive disconnect between the English we speak every day and the English we are tested on. And, that disconnect is exactly what creates so much anxiety for candidates.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you're staring down a high-stakes competitive exam, the sheer volume of rules can feel just incredibly overwhelming.
Right. But the secret to conquering this section, it isn't rote memorization. It's really about understanding the underlying logic.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to assure everyone listening, if you feel panicked, you're not alone. We've got you.
We really do. And that is our mission for you today. We're going to serve as your guides right through questions 1 to 30 of this paper sequentially. We're not skipping a single slide.
No skipping. We're going to cover every single one.
Exactly. But we aren't just going to read you an answer key. We are going to deconstruct the examiner's mind, basically.
Yeah, we'll explicitly articulate the core grammatical concepts, identify the correct choices, and give you the rigorous technical rationale. So you understand exactly why an answer is right and why the traps were set in the first place.
Which is so important. By the end of this, you will have a conceptual framework that just neutralizes any theoretical ambiguity. You won't just be guessing, you will be analyzing.
That's the goal, turning guessers into analysts.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're starting with the reading comprehension block, which spans questions 1 through 8. The passage we're analyzing looks at a massive shift in Indian agriculture, which is the drone revolution.
Right. It's a fascinating text about how cutting-edge tech is being integrated into traditional farming. And in reading comprehension, the examiner is basically testing your ability to filter out noise.
So they want to see if you can extract specific details under time pressure.
Exactly. It's all about targeted detail extraction.
Let's look at question 1. It asks, according to the passage, what task do drones finish in minutes? Now, the options are things like plowing, harvesting, sowing, spraying a field, or building fences. If I'm skimming, how do I find this efficiently?
You scan for the time contrast keyword. The question emphasizes the phrase "in minutes."
Yeah, okay, so I'm hunting for minutes in the text.
Right. In part 1 of the passage, the text explicitly contrasts a task that historically took workers a whole cumbersome day using backpack pumps with the new reality of drones finishing it in minutes.
And what's the task?
The task attached to those tanks and nozzles is spraying a field. Therefore, the definitive answer is D. The text neutralizes all other options by explicitly naming the spraying mechanism.
That keyword scanning strategy is so helpful. Moving to question 2, it asks what the onboard cameras show patches need. The options include new fencing, more sunlight, fresh seeds, water or nutrients, or extra workers.
Again, we are looking for contextual detail identification. The examiner's testing if you can link the noun cameras to its functional output in the text.
So what do the cameras actually do?
Well, the passage states that onboard cameras swiftly map the crop, showing which patches need water or nutrients with surprising precision. It doesn't mention sunlight or fencing in this technological context at all. So the correct answer is D.
Makes sense. Now, question 3 moves into government policy. It asks what the government promotes through subsidies and training. The options give us diesel pumps, cold storages, Keeson drones, and a few others.
The correct answer here is E, Keeson drones. Part 2 of the text clearly records this exact government initiative.
But cold storages and diesel pumps, those are real agricultural initiatives, right?
Exactly. What's interesting here is that test makers often include highly plausible distractors. They want to trap you into using outside knowledge. But you must answer based strictly on the provided text.
Right, stick to the script. Which perfectly explains the trap in question 4. It asks what remains a hurdle for small farmers. The options are weather, costs, illiteracy, labor laws, and poor roads. If I'm just guessing based on general knowledge, illiteracy or poor roads sound like great answers.
Right. They are plausible real-world issues, which makes them dangerous distractors. But this evaluates causal identification within the text itself. The passage explicitly identifies the exact barrier leading to the creation of shared hiring centers.
Let me guess, it's about money.
Spot on. Part 2 states verbatim, costs remain a hurdle for small farmers. The answer is B.
Let's apply that to question 5. We need to verify which statement is true as per the passage. Option A claims drones are already as common as tractors. Now, I remember the text mentioning tractors.
Be careful there. That is a classic conditional trap.
Oh, really? How so?
The text notes drones might become as common as tractors only if prices fall further. They aren't there yet. The only verifiable truth among the options is D. Shared hiring centers are emerging in villages.
Oh, wow. So it's basically like a community carpool, but for advanced agricultural tech.
That is a brilliant analogy. Yeah, perfectly validates the exact economic response to the cost hurdle we just identified in the previous question.
Love that. Now the passage shifts to vocabulary and context. Question 6 asks for the closest synonym to swiftly. The options are slowly, secretly, quickly, loudly, or rarely.
So this is contextual synonym identification. The target word swiftly describes the mapping process in the cameras.
And cameras map things fast, right?
Exactly. The correct answer is C, quickly. The examiner includes slowly as a distractor because it's the exact semantic opposite. They're hoping to catch candidates who misread the question prompt.
Sneaky. Okay, question 7 asks for the closest meaning to hurdle. Options are benefit, reward, habit, obstacle, target.
Well, since we already established earlier that costs are a barrier, the contextual synonym for hurdle must be D, obstacle.
Right, a financial barrier.
Yes. Words like benefit or reward convey the precise opposite concept here.
And wrapping up the reading section with question 8, which word is most opposite in meaning to cumbersome as used in the passage? We have clumsy, heavy, awkward, tiring, and convenient. Now, if I read cumbersome backpack pumps, I might think the opposite of heavy is light. But light isn't an option.
This is where you really have to rely on contextual antonym identification. The text contrasts a cumbersome day with a task finished in minutes. Cumbersome implies something is unwieldy, burdensome, or practically difficult.
So clumsy, heavy, awkward, those are all traps?
Yes, they are near synonyms designed to trap you if you forget you're looking for the opposite. The absolute opposite of a difficult, unwieldy process is E, convenient.
That makes total sense. You really have to read the prompt carefully. Okay, you're doing great. We are smoothly transitioning to the Cloze test block, spanning questions 9 through 13. Here, you have a paragraph about the mechanics of hand washing with 5 missing words.
Right, so a Cloze test evaluates logical flow and syntactical coherence. My absolute best advice here is to look for polarity.
Polarity, like positive and negative.
Exactly. Ask yourself, is the sentence conveying a positive, helpful idea or a negative, harmful one? Every single word you choose must harmonize with that underlying polarity.
Okay, let's test that theory on question 9, the first blank. Doctors describe hand washing as the cheapest blank against infection. The choices are attack, defense, luxury, penalty, or festival.
So we need a contextual noun here. The polarity is positive and medical. Hand washing is a protective measure. Therefore, the answer is B, defense.
Because choosing attack or penalty would just completely reverse the logical protective nature of the advice, right?
Precisely. You'd be saying hand washing is bad, which makes no sense contextually.
But then we get a pivot in question 10. Yet surveys show many people blank this simple habit, especially before meals. The options are enjoy, master, skip, teach, praise.
This requires really careful verb choice.
Yeah.
That word yet is the most important word in the sentence. It signals a direct contradiction to the positive nature of hand washing we just established.
Oh, I see. Because of that pivot, the action must be negative.
You've got it. The answer is C, skip. If people enjoyed or mastered it, the yet conjunction would be structurally invalid.
Moving to question 11, it says, schools that blank washing breaks before lunch report fewer sick days. Ban, mock, hide, tax, schedule.
Here we have a cause and effect relationship.
Huh?
The outcome is positive, which is fewer sick days. Therefore, the action taken by the schools must be positive as well.
So they wouldn't ban or mock it?
Right. The answer is E, schedule. Schools that schedule washing breaks see the benefit. Banning or mocking these breaks would theoretically yield the exact opposite effect.
Now, question 12 gets into the mechanics of soap. Soap works by blank germs from the skin so that water can wash them away. Gluing, feeding, painting, loosening, hiding. I mean, I usually think soap kills germs, but killing isn't an option.
This tests the function of the present participle verb. The text explicitly tells us how the process finishes water, washes them away.
Oh, so for water to wash something away, the prior action has to be unbinding it.
Exactly. The answer is D, loosening. Soap loosens the germs. Gluing would be the precise opposite of the required mechanism.
And the final close question, question 13. A 20-second scrub, doctors insist, can blank several illnesses. Invite, prevent, spread, worsen, cause.
We need an infinitive verb that aligns with medical advocacy. The answer is obviously B, prevent.
Because inviting or causing illnesses contradicts the entire foundational logic of why doctors exist.
Right. Doctors don't insist you do something to worsen your health.
That polarity trick is incredibly powerful. Let's carry that logical analysis right into the pair Jumbles block, covering questions 14 through 17. We have to reconstruct a paragraph about the weekly village hat from sentences labeled A through E.
To succeed at pair Jumbles, you really have to find the anchor. You are looking for an independent topic sentence that doesn't rely on pronouns or prior context. Then you look for sentences that act like magnets, naturally pulling each other together through cause and effect.
Okay, let's look at the raw sentences. Sentence A says prices stay low because there are no middlemen. B says planners now see hats as models of low-cost commerce. C introduces weekly markets, or hats, serving villages for ages. D says supermarkets haven't dimmed their charm. E says farmers bring produce directly to buyers. So, applying your anchor strategy for question 14, which asks for the first sentence.
Well, evaluating those, the first sentence is unequivocally C. It is the only viable independent statement.
Because it defines the subject.
Right. It defines the primary subject, the weekly markets, or HOTS without relying on any prior context. So C is our starting point.
Okay, so C is our anchor. Now we need the magnetic links. Let's skip ahead to question 17 for a second, which asks which sentence comes immediately after sentence E. Sentence E talks about farmers bringing produce directly to buyers.
Think about the direct economic result of farmers selling directly to buyers. What happens? You eliminate the middleman.
Right, so the answer is A. Sentence A explains that prices stay low because there are no middlemen.
Exactly. A must follow E due to an unbreakable causal link.
That makes question 15 easy. It asks for the third sentence. Since C is first and E explains how they function, so E is second and A is the causal result of E, then A must be the third sentence.
Precisely. The logical progression is C, then E, then A.
And question 16 asks for the last sentence. We only have D and B left. D contrasts HOTS with supermarkets, and B talks about modern planners seeing them as models.
A strong paragraph concludes by stepping back to provide a macro perspective. Sentence B does exactly that by offering the modern planner's viewpoint on everything we just discussed.
So the final master sequence is CEABB, making the answer to question 16 sentence B.
You nailed it.
I just love how that snaps together when you find the causal links. All right, take a deep breath. We are entering the error spotting block, questions 18 through 22. This is the section we talked about at the very beginning, the trap of conversational English.
Yeah, this is where candidates often freeze up because they rely on what sounds right to their ear. But grammar is just a set of mechanical rules. When you understand the engineering behind the rule, the error reveals itself plainly.
Let's test that on question 18. The commuters were made part A to wait for hours part B because the train's part C was running late part D.
This is a foundational subject-verb agreement issue. The subject in that dependent clause is trains, which is explicitly plural.
Ah, so the verb must also be plural.
Exactly. The correct phrasing is, we're running late, completely invalidating the singular verb was. So the error is in part D.
Okay, that one was pretty straightforward. But question 19 is where it gets tricky. The furniture part A and the new office part B were bought part C from a local store part D. Now let me challenge this.
Go for it.
Like, if I look around an office, furniture means multiple chairs, multiple desks, maybe a huge conference table. It refers to many physical objects. So why isn't it considered plural?
That is honestly one of the most common theoretical traps in English grammar. You have to separate the physical reality from the grammatical classification. In English, furniture is an uncountable aggregate noun.
Uncountable, but I can count chairs.
You can count chairs, but you can't count furniture as a category. Think of it like the word water or sand. You might have billions of individual grains of sand, but you don't say the sands are hot, you say the sand is hot. Furniture represents a collective idea, not individual countable units.
Oh, wow. So because it's an aggregate concept, it just acts as a singular unit grammatically.
Exactly. Because it is strictly uncountable, it requires a singular verb. The error is in part C. It must be was bought, making were bought structurally incorrect. The same rule applies to words like luggage, information, or advice.
That is a phenomenal distinction to remember. Let's look at question 20. Let you and I, part A, discuss the matter, part B, before we take part C, a final decision, part D. In everyday conversation, people constantly say you and I because, well, we were taught as kids that it sounds more polite.
Yes, and politeness is the trap here. Candidates think you and me sounds uneducated, but we are dealing with the objective pronoun case following an imperative verb. The verb let acts as a transitive imperative. By definition, it must take an object.
So if I strip away the you, I wouldn't say let I discuss the matter. I would say let me discuss the matter.
Perfectly deduced. Therefore, the structurally sound phrasing is let you and me. The subjective pronoun I is entirely incorrect here. The error is in part A. Politeness never overrides pronoun casing rules.
Question 21. She requested part A to me, part B, to lend her part C, my notes, part D. This feels like a phrasing you hear a lot in formal emails, you know.
You do, and it is grammatically flawed. This evaluates your knowledge of transitive verbs and preposition omission. Request is a transitive verb. A transitive verb carries the action directly to the object without needing a bridge.
So it doesn't need an intervening preposition. The to is just useless clutter.
Exactly. It must simply be requested me. Adding the preposition to forming requested to me creates the error. The correct answer is B.
Okay, question 22. This is the one I brought up in our intro. It is, I part A, who am part B, to blame part C for the mistake part D, or part E is no error. It sounds so clunky. Shouldn't the error be in part B? Shouldn't it be who is?
I know it sounds incredibly anachronistic, but we must adhere strictly to the rules of relative pronoun antecedents. The answer here is actually E, no error.
Wait, really? Walk me through the engineering of why that is correct.
Let's methodically break down the analytical progression. The word who is a relative pronoun. A relative pronoun has no inherent person or number of its own. It acts as a mirror, reflecting directly back to its antecedent.
And the antecedent here is I.
Correct. Because who adopts the first-person singular perspective of I, the verb that follows must agree with I. And what is the present tense to be verb that agrees with I? It is am. Therefore, who am is grammatically flawless. Saying it is I who is creates a structural fracture between the antecedent and the verb.
That is fascinating. It's pure mathematical logic applied to language. Let's keep that momentum going right into the phrase replacement block, questions 23 through 25. Question 23 asks us to replace the phrase in quotes, he is senior than me by 3 years. The options include senior from, senior to, more senior than, or senior with.
Here we are dealing with Latin comparative adjectives. In English, we typically use than for comparisons taller than, faster than, but adjectives ending in "-ir" like senior, junior, superior, inferior were imported directly from Latin.
And what does that mean structurally for the sentence?
Well, in Latin, the concept of comparison is already baked right into that "-your" suffix. They are absolute comparatives. Because the comparison is inherent to the word itself, adding the conjunction than is a grammatical redundancy. They inherently take the preposition to. Therefore, the definitive answer is B, senior to.
So simple when you know the rule. Question 24 is, the meeting was presided by the chairman. Options are presided from, presided upon by, presided over by, or presided in by.
This is a test of idiomatic prepositions in phrasal verbs. Certain verbs bind so tightly to specific prepositions that separating them just completely breaks the meaning.
Like a set phrase.
Exactly. The verb preside, when used in the context of leading or chairing a meeting, inextricably binds with the preposition over. So the answer is presided over by. Any other preposition breaks the idiom.
Question 25. She does not know to swim at all. Options to replace it are does not know to swim, do not know to swim, does not know swimming to, or does not know how to swim.
This evaluates infinitive complements with the verb know. In English, when the verb know is used to express a learned physical or cognitive skill, it cannot attach directly to an infinitive.
So, know to swim is structurally incomplete.
Yes. It functionally requires the interrogative adverb how as a bridge before the to infinitive. The correct replacement is D, does not know how to swim.
Excellent. We are cruising. Let's move into the fillers block, questions 26 through 28. These are dual blank sentences. I imagine the strategy here is finding words that logically pull in the same direction, right?
Yes, we are looking for logical harmony across the entire sentence.
Let's see. Question 26 says, the chef blank fresh herbs to blank the flavor of the soup. The options pair verbs. If I look at the option added ruin, that creates a semantic contradiction. A chef wouldn't add something to intentionally ruin a dish.
Precisely. You evaluate the intent of the subject. The answer is E, added enhance. A chef adds herbs specifically to enhance or improve flavor. The two words must harmonize with the subject's professional intent.
Makes total sense. Question 27. The auditorium was blank to capacity as fans blank to see the singer.
This requires contextual cause and effect. The enthusiasm of fans arriving en masse needs an active verb. That gives us thronged.
And the physical result of a throng of people is a space being filled.
Right, so the correct answer is A, filled thronged. Options that pair emptied or refused completely reverse the enthusiastic context established by the word fans.
Question 28. Regular exercise blank the muscles and blank the risk of injury.
Here we are looking for parallel logical deductions regarding medical benefits. Exercise yields two parallel positive outcomes. It strengthens muscles while simultaneously lowering the risk of injury.
So that would be A, strengthens, lowers.
Exactly. The answer is A. The other options pair a positive action with a negative outcome, which just breaks the fundamental logic of the sentence.
All right, we have made it to the final sprint. The idioms and spelling block, questions 29 and 30. You're doing amazing, let's bring it home. Question 29 asks for the correct meaning of the idiom, a blessing in disguise. The options are a gift given secretly, a prayer said in private, an unexpected expense, something good that first seemed bad, or a hidden enemy.
The foundational rule of idioms is that they rely on abstract semantic meaning, almost never literal translation.
So if it has the word disguise in it, the answer probably has nothing to do with hiding things physically.
Right. A blessing in disguise describes a misfortune that eventually yields a beneficial outcome. Therefore, the answer is D, something good that first seemed bad. The examiner includes options like a gift given secretly or a prayer said in private to trap candidates who focus too literally on the words blessing and disguise.
And the final question, question 30, asks you to choose the correctly spelt word out of 5 variations of the word embarrass. Spelling can be so tricky under pressure, honestly.
Oh, it evaluates strict English orthography rules, and stress makes it harder. The correct answer is B-E-M-B-A-R-R-A-S-S. The rigorous mnemonic rule you must commit to memory is that embarrass requires a double R and a double S. Every other option provided in the slide drops or misplaces one of those required doubled consonants.
Double R, double S. Got it. And just like that, we've systematically deconstructed all 30 questions. If you followed along, you didn't just passively listen to an answer key. You actively engaged with the hidden architecture of the English language.
Indeed, you have navigated every single conceptual trap this paper presented by applying logic rather than guesswork.
So what does this all mean? We spent this deep dive agonizing over aggregate nouns, relative pronoun antecedents, and Latin comparatives. Why does this actually matter beyond the exam room?
Because it demands a shift in perspective. The rules of grammar aren't just arbitrary academic hurdles designed by examiners to make your life difficult, you know? They're the actual engineering blueprint of clear human thought.
The blueprint of thought. I like that.
Think about a bridge. If the steel beams aren't bolted together according to the laws of physics, the bridge collapses under weight. Well, grammar is the physics of communication. When you master these rules, you don't just become a better test taker, you become a more formidable, precise, and persuasive communicator in the real world. You understand how the structural integrity of a sentence works, ensuring your ideas are never, ever misunderstood.
That is an incredibly powerful way to view it. You are literally learning to engineer your thoughts with absolute precision. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep analyzing the mechanics, trust the logic, and we'll see you next time.
Imagine staring at a ticking clock with 35 dense, complicated math problems standing between you and your dream career.
Yeah, that is an absolute nightmare scenario for a lot of people.
Right. Your heart is pounding, your palms are sweating, you look at that first page, and the numbers just sort of blur together. But what if I told you that you don't actually need to be a math genius to solve every single one of them in under 20 minutes?
I mean, it sounds impossible when you're caught in the grip of that academic anxiety. Math feels so binary for most of us. Like, you either have the math gene or you just don't.
Exactly.
But what's fascinating is that quantitative aptitude, especially the kind we're breaking down today, isn't about innate brilliance at all. It is purely about pattern recognition.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah, it's about learning to read the underlying story the numbers are trying to tell you and, just having the patience to follow that plot.
And that is exactly what we're going to do today. So, welcome to a highly focused deep dive, custom tailored just for you.
Glad to be here.
Our mission today is to conquer Section 2 of the IBPS CRP POMT 2026 Model Paper 09. We're walking side by side through the entire section, starting at number 31 and going straight through to 65. We're not skipping a single one, and we're definitely not leaving you behind.
Exactly. So take a deep breath. We're going to break this down logically. We'll start with interpreting visual data, translate a heavy word problem into simple facts, decode some algebra, and find the hidden DNA in number sequences.
It sounds like a lot, but we've got this.
We do. And by the end, we'll run through a gauntlet of real-world arithmetic, and you'll see just how manageable it all really is.
Let's unpack this, starting with what we can visually see. The first chunk of the section gives us a line graph, tracking the quarterly sales of 3 products, X, Y, and Z, in hundreds of units.
Right.
I like to think of a line graph kind of like a company's heartbeat monitor. You're just looking for those spikes of success and the steady rhythms over the year.
That's a really great way to visualize it. So our first task, question 31, is to find the quarter where the total heartbeat, all 3 products combined, was the strongest.
So we just add them up.
Exactly. Instead of getting overwhelmed by all the crisscrossing lines, we just stack the points for each quarter. Quarter 1 gives us 60. Quarter 2 is also 60.
Okay, pretty steady.
Right. Then quarter 3 steps up to 75. But look at quarter 4. The points stack up to 90. So the highest combined sales happen right at the end of the year, in Q4.
Okay, so we've seen the big picture for all the products. But what if we just want to track one company's performance over the year? Question 32 asks for the total annual sales of just product Y.
Here, you've got to put your blinders on. Ignore X, ignore Z. Just follow Y's rhythm across the 4 quarters. It starts at 15, bumps up to 20, climbs to 25, and peaks at 30.
Let me do the math. 15 plus 20 is 35, plus 25 is 60, plus 30 is 90.
Spot on. But there is a tiny trap here. The graph's axis is in hundreds of units, so 90 actually means 9,000 units.
Oh, wow. You always have to check the axis labels. Now, the test makers try to trip us up next in question 33 by asking us to compare specific isolated points. We need the ratio of the sales of X in Q2 to the sales of Z in Q4. I mean, my eyes immediately want to cross trying to track all that.
Don't let them. Just extract the 2 raw numbers. First, locate X in quarter 2. That dot is at 25. Next, locate Z in quarter 4. That dot is at 35.
So your raw ratio is 25 to 35.
Exactly. And since both end in 5, they divide cleanly by 5, reducing down to a very neat 5-to-7 ratio.
Question 34 keeps us analyzing Y, asking what % of its first quarter sales were achieved in the fourth quarter. It's really just asking for a growth story, right?
Yeah, it's a simple comparison of where they ended versus where they started. Y sold 3,000 units in Q4. Back in Q1, it sold 1,500.
So 30 divided by 15 is 2.
Multiply by 100 to make it a percentage, and you see a massive 200% growth.
They doubled their output. That's great. So to wrap up this graph with question 35, we're asked to find the average quarterly sales of product X.
Averages are just smoothing out the heartbeat. We sum up X's sales across the year. Let's see, 20 plus 25 plus 30 plus 25.
That gives us 100 units total.
Right. To find the quarterly average, smooth it out by dividing that 100 by the 4 quarters. You get 2,500, meaning 2,500 units on average per quarter.
Just like that, the visual data is completely out of the way. But here's where it gets a bit jarring for a lot of people. Questions 36 through 40 drop a massive wall of text on us about a student named Ria taking an exam.
Yeah, the dreaded K-slit.
When you're hit with a dense paragraph like that, how do you prevent your brain from just, freezing up?
You have to translate the narrative into a visual table. Take control of the text. Let's pull out the facts gently. The exam has 150 questions. Correct answers earn 1 mark.
But here's the catch.
Right. Wrong answers lose 0.25 marks. Now, she attempted everything. For the first 90 questions, she got 80% correct. For the remaining 60 questions, she got 60% correct.
Okay, so the first thing we need to figure out for question 36 is how many she actually got right overall.
Let's do it in 2 manageable chunks. 80% of the first 90 questions. Well, 8 times 9 is 72. Then 60% of the remaining 60 questions. 6 times 6 is 36.
Add them together. 72 plus 36 gives us 108 total correct answers.
Which naturally leads us to question 37, figuring out her mistakes. Since she attempted every single question, the wrong answers are just whatever is left over right.
Precisely. In that first batch of 90, if 72 were right, 18 were wrong. In the second batch of 60, if 36 were right, 24 were wrong. Total mistakes would be 18 plus 24, which equals 42 wrong answers.
Now comes the painful part for question 38, calculating her net score with that negative marking system.
Wait, so if the penalty is 0.25, every wrong answer essentially eats a quarter of a right answer.
That is a perfect way to conceptualize it. She got 42 questions wrong. At a quarter-point penalty each, you just divide 42 by 4. That results in a 10.5 mark deduction.
Ouch.
Yeah. So we take her 108 correct marks, subtract the 10.5 penalty, and her actual net score drops to 97.5. It's a harsh reminder of how guessing can hurt you in the real world.
Yeah, those penalties really do add up. For question 39, they want to know the correct answers from that last batch of 60 questions form what % of her total correct answers?
We already did the heavy lifting here. We know she got 36 correct in that last half, and her total correct was 108.
So set up the fraction, 36 over 108.
If you reduce that, it's exactly 1/3, which translates to 33 and 1/3%.
And finally, to cap off this scenario with question 40, we need to find out how much higher her score would have been if there were no negative marking at all.
Well, without the penalty, she keeps all her points. Her score would simply be her total correct answers, 108. The difference between 108 and her penalized score of 97.5 is exactly the penalty we calculated a moment ago.
10.5 marks.
Exactly.
Okay, if your head is spinning right now from all those percentages, take a breath. We are shifting gears into algebra, specifically decoding quadratic inequalities for questions 41 to 45. Now, I have to admit, I always hated these in school.
They're definitely intimidating.
It just felt like doing double the work. Why do we have to find both values for both variables just to say which one is bigger?
I completely understand that frustration, but here is why it matters. Quadratic equations don't graph as straight lines. They graph as curves, parabolas.
Right, the U shape.
Exactly. Because they curve like a U, they often cross the zero line twice, meaning a single variable can have two completely different possible values. You have to compare every possible value of x against every possible value of y to see if a consistent relationship actually exists.
Let's test that out on question 41. Equation 1 is x squared minus 6x plus 8 equals 0. Equation 2 is y squared minus 7, y plus 12 equals 0. I know we need to factor these.
Right. For x, we need numbers that multiply to positive 8 but add up to negative 6. That's negative 2 and negative 4. So the actual roots where it crosses 0 are positive 2 and 4.
Okay, and for y?
Numbers that multiply to 12 and add to negative 7 are negative 3 and negative 4. So the roots are positive 3 and 4.
Okay, so x could be 2 or 4, and y could be 3 or 4. How do we compare them?
Look at the overlaps. If x happens to be 4 and y is 3, x is greater. But if x is 2 and y is 3, x is smaller. Because the possible realities contradict each other, no definitive relation can be established.
That makes sense. Let's look at the next pair for 42. X squared minus 29x plus 210 equals 0 versus y squared minus 21y plus 108 equals 0.
I won't bog you down with the mental factoring here, but x breaks down to roots of 14 and 15. The y equation breaks down to roots of 9 and 12.
Oh, that's clean.
It is incredibly satisfying because all possible values of x 14 and 15 are strictly higher than all possible values of y 9 and 12. We can confidently say x is greater than y.
Question 43 brings in some negative roots, which always twists my brain. X squared plus 17x plus 72 equals 0, and y squared plus 9y plus 20 equals 0.
Right, for x, the roots evaluate to negative 8 and negative 9. For y, the roots are negative 4 and negative 5.
I have to pause here because this is where people trip up. With negative numbers, the smaller absolute value is actually the greater number.
Right.
I like to use a debt analogy. Being $4 in debt is a much better financial position than being $8 in debt. So negative 4 and negative 5 are greater than negative 8 and negative 9, meaning x is strictly less than y.
That is the perfect way to conceptualize it. Now, question 44 introduces a subtle twist. X squared minus 5, x plus 6 equals 0, giving roots of 2 and 3, and y squared minus 10, y plus 21 equals 0, giving roots of 3 and 7.
So x is 2 or 3, y is 3 or 7.
Notice the relationship. Every possible x is smaller than y, except for one scenario where they can both be 3. So we can't just say less than. We say x is less than or equal to y.
And for the final algebra problem, number 45, x squared minus 22, x plus 121 equals 0 versus y squared minus 20y plus 99 equals 0.
The x equation is a perfect square. It factors to x minus 11 squared, so x is exactly 11. The y roots factor out to 9, 11.
Got it.
Since x is 11 and y is either 9 or 11, x is always greater than or equal to y.
We made it through the parabolas. Let's shake that off because we are moving into number series for questions 46 to 50.
Yeah.
I always compare number sequences to finding the underlying rhythm in a piece of music, or like finding the DNA sequence where each number inherits a specific trait from the last.
I love the DNA analogy. Let's look for the genetic mutation in this first sequence. Question 46. 0, 6, 24, 60, 120, and we need the next number.
The gaps between these numbers are getting huge very quickly, which usually means multiplication or exponents are hiding in there.
Exactly. This is a classic hidden pattern. It's the number cubed minus itself. Think about it. 1 cubed minus 1 is 0.
2 cubed minus 2 is 6.
3 cubed minus 3 is 24, and so on. The last number, 120, is 5 cubed, which is 125 minus 5. So the next generation in this DNA sequence must be 6 cubed minus 6.
216 minus 6 brings us smoothly to 210. Okay, question 47 is 200, 197, 191, 182, 170. This one is going down, but slowly.
Since it's slow, we check the simple differences. The gaps are drops of 3, then 6, then 9, then 12.
The drops themselves are just multiples of 3.
Yep. So the next drop must be 15. 170 minus 15 arrives at 155.
Okay, here is question 48, and it escalates aggressively. 4, 8, 24, 96, 480.
When it explodes that fast, check your multipliers. How do you get from 4 to 8? Times 2, 8 to 24, times 3, 24 to 96, times 4.
And 96 to 480 is times 5.
The multipliers are escalating by 1 each time, so the final step is 480 times 6.
Wait, how do I do 480 times 6 in my head without panicking?
Break it apart. 400 times 6 is 2,400. 80 times 6 is 480. Add them up, and you land on 2,880.
That is so much less intimidating. Next up for 49. 1, 8, 27, 64, 125. Oh, I recognize this one.
You do?
Yeah, these are pure perfect cubes. 1 cubed, 2 cubed, 3 cubed, right up to 5 cubed. So the next one is just 6 cubed, which is 216.
Spot on. And for the final sequence in 50, 150, 149, 145, 136, 120.
Let's check the differences again. Drops of 1, then 4, then 9, then 16. Those are perfect squares. 1 squared, 2 squared, 3 squared, 4 squared.
Exactly.
So the next drop must be 5 squared, which is 25. 120 minus 25 gives us 95.
Perfect.
Which brings us to a section I like to call the rapid-fire palate cleanser. Pure arithmetic simplifications, from 51 to 55. But in a timed exam, people freeze up on these calculations. Is there a trick to not getting bogged down?
The trick is trusting cognitive shortcuts rather than brute force calculation. Let me teach you one. First problem, 51. 12% of 1,250 plus 8% of 750.
Sounds awful.
But you can break percentages into chunks. 10% of 1,250 is 125 and 2% is 25. Add them up, you get 150. For 8% of 750, find 1%, which is 7.5, and multiply by 8 to get 60. 150 plus 60 is 210.
Question 52 is 45 times 12 minus 35 times 8. Multiplying 45 by 12 mentally, I'd pass.
Here is a life-changing trick. Double and halve. If you are multiplying two numbers, you can double one and half the other, and the math stays exactly the same.
Wait, really?
Yes. So instead of 45 times 12, double 45 to 90 and halve 12 to 6. Now you just have 90 times 6, which is instantly 540 in your head.
Oh, well. Let's do it for the second part. 35 times 8, double 35 to 70, halve 8 to 4. 70 times 4 is 280. So the problem is just 540 minus 280, which is 260. That is incredible.
Right. Question 53 requires fraction efficiency. 2/5 of 850 plus 3/7 of 490. Just divide by the bottom, multiply by the top.
Okay, 850 divided by 5 is 170, times 2 is 340.
And 490 divided by 7 is 70, times 3 is 210. 340 plus 210 totals 550.
Question 54 teaches the art of approximation. It asks for the approximate value of 899.98 divided by 29.99 plus 19.98 times 5.02.
Do not calculate the decimals, just round them to whole numbers. 900 divided by 30 is 30. 20 times 5 is 100. 30 plus 100 reaches 130. It takes 5 seconds.
And the last palate cleanser, 55. 17 squared plus 13 squared minus 21 squared.
This is just rewarding you for memorizing basic squares. 289 plus 169 minus 441. It simplifies to 17.
Okay, take a deep breath. We have reached the final segment, the arithmetic gauntlet. These are the last 10 problems, applying everything to real-world word problems.
You are fully equipped for this. Let's take them one by one. Question 56 is time and distance. A 100-meter-long train running at 60 kilometers per hour overtakes a 140-meter-long train running at 42 kilometers per hour in the same direction. How much time does it take to pass completely?
Okay, first, because they are moving in the same direction, the relative speed is just the difference between them, right? 60 minus 42 is 18 kilometers per hour, but the train lengths are in meters. How do we convert that without a calculator?
Here's the why behind the rule. There are 1,000 meters in a kilometer and 3,600 seconds in an hour. If you reduce the fraction 1,000 over 3,600, you get 5 over 18.
Wow.
So to convert kilometers per hour to meters per second, just multiply by 5 over 18. 18 times 5/18 perfectly cancels out, leaving 5 meters per second.
And the total distance they have to cover to completely pass each other is both lengths combined. 100 plus 140 is 240 meters. Distance divided by speed equals time. 240 divided by 5 gives a 48-second overtaking time.
Nice. Question 57 is simple interest. The simple interest on 6,000 rupees for 3 years is 1,440 rupees.
Find the weight.
Think of the interest formula like a seesaw you just have to balance. Interest equals principal times rate times time over 100.
So 1,440 equals 6,000 times R times 3 divided by 100.
Simplifying that, 6,000 divided by 100 is 60. 60 times 3 is 180. So 1,440 equals 180 times R.
Divide 1,440 by 180 and the rate is 8%.
Perfect. Question 58 is a time and work problem. A finishes a job in 10 days. B finishes in 15 days. They work on alternate days, starting with A. How many days to complete the work?
Wait, if they're working alternate days, my brain immediately wants to just average their times or divide the work in half. But that's a trap, isn't it?
It is a trap. Instead of confusing ourselves with individual alternating days, let's group them into 2-day cycles. Every 2 days, A and B both get one shift. A does 1/10 of the work.
And B does 1/15.
Exactly. In one 2-day cycle, they combine 1/10 and 1/15. Finding a common denominator of 30, that's 3/30 plus 2/30, which is 5/30.
Which reduces to exactly 1/6 of the total work per cycle. Since they complete 1/6 per cycle, it takes exactly 6 cycles to finish. 6 cycles of 2 days each means they finish in 12 days.
Brilliant. Moving on to 59, boats and streams. The ratio of downstream speed to upstream speed is 3:2. The stream flows at 4 kilometers per hour. Find the boat speed in still water.
Let's use B for the boat speed. Downstream, the water helps, so it's B plus 4. Upstream, it fights you, so it's B minus 4. The ratio is B plus 4 over B minus 4 equals 3 over 2.
Cross-multiply that. 2 times B plus 4 equals 3 times B minus 4. That's 2B plus 8 equals 3B minus 12. Move the variables, and the boat speed is 20 kilometers per hour.
Question 60 is a quick mental break for probability. What is the chance of pulling a red king from a standard deck of 52 cards?
Well, there are only 2 red suits, hearts, and diamonds, so there are only 2 red kings. 2 out of 52 reduces to a 1 in 26 chance.
Then we have 61, profit and loss. A trader suffers a 12% loss by selling an item at 4/5 of the marked price. What profit percent will he make if he sells at the full marked price? This feels like a riddle.
It really does. But let's untangle it step by step. Selling at a 12% loss means he sold it for 88% of his original cost price.
Right, or 0.88 CP.
Exactly. And the riddle tells us that this specific price was 4/5, or 0.8 of the marked price. So 0.8 MP equals 0.88 CP.
Divide both sides by 0.8, and we find that the marked price equals 1.1 times the cost price. 1.1 means 110%. Ergo, selling at the marked price gives a 10% profit.
Spot on. Question 62 is an ages problem. A is 5 years older than B. B is twice as old as C. The sum of their ages is 45. Find B's age.
We just translate the words into algebra, using B as our anchor since everything relates to B. A equals B plus 5. C equals B divided by 2. So the total sum is B plus 5 plus B over 2 equals 45.
Combine all those B's. That's 2.5B plus 5 equals 45. Subtract the 5, so 2.5B equals 40.
Divide 40 by 2.5, and it reveals B is 16 years old.
We are in the final stretch. Question 63 is percentages. 40% of a number exceeds 25% of the same number by 54. Find the number.
Don't overcomplicate this. What is the actual gap between 40% and 25%? It's 15%. The problem tells us that 15% gap equals 54.
Right. To find the whole 100%, just divide 54 by 0.15. The calculation gives you 360.
The second to last challenge, 64, is mensuration. The volumes of two cubes are in the ratio 8 to 27. Find the ratio of their surface areas.
Think about the geometry here. Surface area is just the wrapping paper on the outside. It's two-dimensional, so it's squared. But volume is the actual space inside. It's three-dimensional, so it's cubed.
So we have to work backward from the 3D volume to find the 1D side lengths. The cube root of 8 is 2. The cube root of 27 is 3. So the sides are in a 2 to 3 ratio.
Exactly. Then, to get the 2D surface area, we square that side ratio. 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9. The answer is 4 to 9.
And here is the final hurdle. Question 65, partnerships. A, B, and C invest 20,000, 30,000, and 50,000 rupees respectively. The annual profit is 15,000. Find C's share.
We don't need all those zeros. We can simplify their capital investments down to a ratio of 2 to 3 to 5. The total parts of the investment are 2 plus 3 plus 5, which equals 10 parts.
And C invested 5 of those 10 parts. 5 over 10 means C provided exactly half the capital, which means C is entitled to exactly half the profit. Half of 15,000 nets, C a 7,500 rupee share.
And that is it. You just successfully navigated an entire unfragmented quantitative aptitude section. From question 31 all the way to 65. You just proved that even a ticking clock and a 35-question gauntlet can be conquered step by step when you know how to look for the patterns.
We covered an immense amount of ground today. But before you step away from this, I want to leave you with a thought to mull over. We just solved highly complex problems about profit margins, business partnerships, and interest rates purely to pass a standardized test. But what happens if you take that exact same rigorous analytical framework and apply it to your own personal finances and career negotiations tomorrow?
That is a powerful question. It really is all just pattern recognition, isn't it? You just have to look at the heartbeat monitor of your own life, find those steady rhythms, and build on them.
Definitely. Keep your curiosity sharp, keep your pencils ready, and keep looking for the patterns. Thanks for diving deep with us. You know, when you go to the gym and try to lift a weight that's, well, just a bit too heavy, you get this immediate physical feedback, like your muscle shakes, it burns.
Right, yeah, it's a very tangible limit. It's visible, and you know exactly when to rack the weight.
Exactly. But when you sit down in front of a really dense logic puzzle, the exhaustion is entirely invisible. It's like your brain is doing heavy deadlifts, but all you see in front of you is a piece of static paper.
Oh, completely. And, you know, when you're sitting in an exam hall watching the clock tick, that invisible exhaustion can quickly spiral into full-blown panic.
It really can. Welcome to today's deep dive. If you're listening to this, you are probably feeling a bit of that invisible heavy lifting as you prepare for your exam.
Yeah, it's the absolute definition of mental fatigue. The cognitive load just piles up silently. You're holding like 3 different constraints in your working memory, and before you know it, your processing power just maxes out.
And you feel completely stuck. So today, we are focusing on mastering that exact cognitive load. We are going to look specifically at the reasoning ability section, which is the 3rd section from the IBPS CRP POMT 2026 Preliminary Examination Model paper.
And our mission today is to just calmly and systematically walk through this material together. We want to help you build those logical muscles step by step.
Because exam prep can feel like a mountain, right? But when you break it down into manageable footholds, it is incredibly conquerable. So take a deep breath.
We are going to work through this entire reasoning sequence. That's questions 66 through 100 sequentially, but we're going to do it by focusing on the why and the how behind the logic.
Yeah, we'll start by building a solid spatial foundation.
Yeah.
Basically, learning how to anchor abstract information into a mental grid.
That's honestly the perfect place to start because the first major hurdle students face involves spatial arrangements. You get this jumble of variables and you have to organize them.
Right, like the shelf arrangement puzzle we have for questions 66 through 70. You've got 5 different textbooks, and you have to organize them on a 6-shelf rack where one shelf is entirely empty.
Exactly. And if you try to hold all of that fluidly in your head, you will drop something. You have to anchor it.
Okay, let's unpack this. I always think of this like framing a house. You don't build the 3rd floor hovering in thin air.
No, you pour the foundation, put on the roof, and then install the load-bearing beams.
Right. So with these books, we have maths, physics, history, English, and biology. The prompt throws us a bone right away. It says the physics book is on the topmost shelf, and the history book is on the lowest.
So you've just framed the house. Physics is the roof on shelf 6, and history is the foundation on shelf 1. Everything else has to fit between them.
But then it gets a little tricky. It says the empty shelf is immediately above the history book.
Which just means the 2nd floor is essentially a vacant loft. Since history is firmly on shelf 1, shelf 2 is our empty space.
Okay, so shelves 1, 2, and 6 are locked. My instinct here is to panic about the middle shelves, but we just follow the next clue, right?
You're doing great. Yes, just follow the next load-bearing beam. The prompt states there are exactly 2 shelves between maths and physics.
Ah, okay. Since physics is up on 6, I just count down 2 physical shelves, so 5 and 4, which means maths has to sit on shelf 3.
Precisely. And notice how the prompt specifically said shelves and not books. That distinction is super critical.
Oh, I see. Because the shelves are fixed spaces. Once maths is on 3, the next clue tells us biology is immediately above maths.
Right. That firmly places biology on shelf 4.
Which leaves us with only 1 book English and 1 open shelf, which is shelf 5. The fog completely lifts once that grid is built.
It really does. So for question 66, if they ask which book is on shelf 5, you instantly know it's English.
And for 67, which shelf is empty? It's obviously shelf 2.
Exactly. It also protects you from trick questions like question 68. They ask how many books are kept between history and biology.
Oh, this is a trap. Your brain might see history on 1 and biology on 4 and just jump to the conclusion that there are 2 books between them.
Exactly, because shelves 2 and 3 are physically between them. But since shelf 2 is empty, there is actually only 1 book in that gap.
Right. The maths book, the grid, makes that visually obvious. And for question 69, which book is immediately below English? We can easily see it's biology.
And finally, for question 70, you can instantly spot that a claim like, maths is on shelf 5 is completely incorrect because English is on 5.
The heavy lifting is done during the setup. The answers are just the reward. That's incredibly reassuring.
It is. Now let's take that same principle and apply it to a new dimension for questions 71 through 75, which is time scheduling.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Mapping time always feels so precarious to me. We have 6 people, let's call them A through F, delivering seminars.
Right, across 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, and 3 time slots, morning, noon, and evening. Time puzzles often paralyze people because they feel less tangible than a bookshelf.
How do we map time without getting confused?
You just need to turn time into space. Create a 2-dimensional grid in your mind with 2 columns for the days and 3 rows for the times.
Okay, drawing a mental grid. The anchor here seems to be person A. The prompt explicitly says A's seminar is on Saturday at noon. I'm locking that in.
Good. Now, just follow the thread connected to A. We're told D's seminar is on the same day as A, but in the morning.
So D takes Saturday morning. Then we hear about C. C's seminar is in the morning, but not on the same day as A.
Right. And since A is on Saturday, C has to take the only other morning slot, which is Sunday morning.
Now the board is half full. Let's look at B. B's seminar is in the evening, but not on Saturday, so Sunday evening belongs to B.
Exactly. This leaves us with 2 people, E and F, and 2 slots, Saturday evening and Sunday noon. The prompt says E's seminar is not in the evening.
Well, that forces E into the Sunday noon slot, which means poor F is stuck with the only remaining spot, Saturday evening.
And just like that, the entire weekend is scheduled. So for question 71, who takes the Sunday morning shift?
You immediately see it's C. For question 72, F's schedule is Saturday evening.
And for 73, you can group them effortlessly. The Saturday crew is D, A, and F.
Question 74 asks for E's slot, which is Sunday noon. And for 75, who has the same time slot as A, but on the other day?
Well, A is at noon on Saturday, so the Sunday noon slot belongs to E. It really is about trusting the process and not letting the volume of variables intimidate you.
That is the perfect takeaway. You guys are doing great. Now that we've mastered these fixed grids, the exam shifts gears for segment 2.
Yes, moving from fixed grids to relative order and abstract logic. Questions 76 through 80 are a race order puzzle.
We have a scenario with 6 runners, P, Q, R, S, T, and U. We know the winner finished in exactly 12 minutes, and every single person after that took exactly 2 minutes longer.
So before we even look at the runners, we have a fixed sequence of times, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, and 22 minutes. That's our new skeleton.
Now we apply the relative constraints. The prompt says only 2 runners finished before Q,
which squarely places Q in third place. There's no ambiguity there. And if Q is third, their time is 16 minutes.
Then we're told T finished immediately after Q. That firmly drops T into 4th place, crossing the line at 18 minutes.
Correct. The prompt also isolates the very end of the pack, stating that S finished last, so S is in the 6th position, taking the maximum 22 minutes.
Now pause. We have slots 1, 2, and 5 remaining. This is where I always get tripped up. The clue says P finished before R.
Right.
But it doesn't say immediately before. So how do we lock them into the 1st and 2nd slots rather than, say, the 1st and 5th?
It's a process of elimination. If P finished before R, could R be in the 5th slot? If R was 5th, P could be 1st or 2nd. But look at the remaining runners.
Oh, I see. If P and R take spots 1 and 2, U goes to 5. If P and U take 1 and 2, R goes to 5.
Exactly. But usually in these specific puzzle formats, exams give you one definitive sequence that fits all criteria without contradiction. If P finished before R, and those are the only 2 spots before Q, they naturally fill positions 1 and 2.
Because if R was 5th, P could be 1st. But then who is 2nd? U. There's no explicit rule preventing it, but the simplest consecutive logic is what's intended. So P is 1st at 12 minutes, and R is 2nd at 14 minutes.
Exactly. That leaves the 5th slot at 20 minutes for the final runner, U, so the definitive finishing order is P, R, Q, T, U, S.
Once that's established, we can fly through the questions. Question 76, who won? P did. Question 77, Q's time, 16 minutes.
For 78, how many runners finished between R in 2nd place and U in 5th place? Just 2 people, Q and T.
Question 79 asks who finished immediately before S, that would be U. And question 80, the difference in finishing times between the winner P and last place S.
You just take 22 minus 12, a solid 10-minute difference. It's all about holding those relative positions steady in your mind.
Speaking of holding concepts in your mind, let's move on to the philosophical heavyweight of the reasoning section for questions 81 through 84, syllogisms.
Yes. This is where we deal with statements like, all chairs are sofas, and try to figure out what conclusions logically follow. It tests your ability to separate reality from abstract rules.
Right. I always visualize these as overlapping Venn diagrams. But where I know students really struggle is the difference between something being a possibility versus a certainty.
That's the crux of it. What's fascinating here is how a possibility opens the mind. It asks, can I draw these circles so they overlap without breaking any rules?
But a certainty closes doors. It has to be true in every single conceivable way you could draw those circles.
Exactly. If there's even one way to draw the diagram where the statement isn't true, it fails. Let's look at question 81. Statements. All chairs are sofas. Some sofas are beds.
Okay, conclusion 1. Some chairs being beds is a possibility.
Visualize it. The chair's circle is entirely trapped inside the sofa circle. The bed circle overlaps with the edge of the sofa circle. Now, could that bed circle reach far enough in to also overlap with chairs?
Well, yeah, the rules don't say beds can't touch chairs. They just say they definitely touch sofas.
Exactly. It doesn't break a single rule to draw them overlapping, therefore it is a valid possibility. But what about the second conclusion? All sofas are chairs.
Oh, that's definitely false. Just because the chair circle is inside the sofa circle doesn't mean the sofa circle shrinks down to be the exact same size.
Yeah.
So only conclusion 1 follows.
Perfect. Let's do 82, which has a negative constraint. No box is a crate. Some crates are trunks. Conclusion 1, all trunks being boxes is a possibility.
Okay, let's draw this. Boxes and crates are like opposing magnets. They never touch. But trunks overlap with crates. So could all trunks potentially be boxes?
Look closer at that overlap. There are some specific trunks that are currently sitting inside the crate circle. Can those specific trunks ever go into the box's circle?
Oh, wait, no, they can't, because the crate circle is a strict no-go zone for boxes. Those specific trunks are banned from ever being boxes, so conclusion 1 fails completely.
Precisely, the possibility fails. But look at conclusion 2. Some trunks are not boxes.
Yes. For that exact same reason, the trunks stuck in the crate circle will never be boxes. So that statement is a certainty. Only conclusion 2 follows.
Let's look at 83. Some pins are clips. All clips are hooks. Conclusion 1. All pins being hooks is a possibility. Conclusion 2. Some hooks are pins.
Okay, clips are inside hooks. Pins overlap with clips. Could the entire pin circle move inside the hook circle? Yes. No rule prevents it.
Right. And for the second one, since pins overlap with clips and all clips are swallowed by hooks, the hooks must be overlapping with pins by default.
So both conclusions follow perfectly. We're on a roll. Question 84. All taps are valves. No valve is a pipe. Conclusion 1. No pipe is a tap. Conclusion 2. All pipes being valves is a possibility.
Taps are hiding entirely inside valves. Valves have a giant brick wall separating them from pipes. Therefore, pipes can never touch valves.
Which means they can certainly never reach the taps hiding inside. Conclusion 1 is completely true, and the possibility of all pipes being valves is absurd because they can't touch. So only conclusion 1 follows.
I love how visual that becomes. Once you clearly define the boundaries, the logic cannot be hidden. This brings us to segment 3, decoding relationships, starting with mathematical inequalities in questions 85 to 87.
Oh, inequalities. A string of greater than and less than signs that just look like alphabet soup. I always imagine inequalities like a river flowing downhill. The open mouth of the greater than sign is where the water flows from.
That is a phenomenal analogy. As long as the signs face the same general direction, the river flows. But if you get a less than and a greater than pointing at each other, they form a dam. The water starts.
Let's test the river for question 85. The statement is A is greater than B, which equals C, which is greater than or equal to D. Conclusion 1 is A is greater than D.
Let's follow the water. From A to B, it flows downhill. From B to C, it's flat. From C to D, it flows downhill again. The flow is uninterrupted. A must be greater than D.
So conclusion 1 follows. Conclusion 2 is C is greater than A.
Try to swim up the river from C back to A. C equals B, but B is strictly less than A. The water is flowing against you. So that conclusion is false. Only conclusion 1 follows.
Makes sense. Let's look at 86. K is less than L, which is less than or equal to M, which is less than or equal to N.
The flow goes from N down to K, so we know N is greater than or equal to L. That means either N is strictly greater than L or N equals L.
The conclusions are 1, N is greater than L, and 2, L equals N. So the answer must be either conclusion 1 or conclusion 2 follows, right?
Exactly, because one of those two states has to be true. Now let's look at 87. This one trips people up. Statements. P is less than or equal to Q, which is less than R, and S is strictly less than P.
Okay, building a single river. S is less than P, which is less than or equal to Q, which is less than R. Conclusion 1 is R is greater than S.
Follow the flow from R down to S. The water flows perfectly all the way down. R is absolutely greater than S. Conclusion 1 is true.
Now here is where I get confused. Conclusion 2 asks if Q is greater than or equal to S. When I look at the chain, Q is strictly greater than S. Why do the rules say Q is greater than or equal to S is true?
This is a classic quirk of formal logic. Think about the language. Greater than OR equal to. If a number is strictly greater than another, it satisfies the greater than half of that OR statement.
Wow, okay. So because one part of the OR condition is met, the entire statement is evaluated as true. You really have to suspend your conversational understanding of grammar. Both conclusions follow.
It's a great trap to be aware of. Let's pivot from math to human relationships. Blood relations puzzles, questions 88 through 90.
These can feel incredibly convoluted. I mean, nobody talks like this in real life. My favorite trick is substituting the names of my own family members to make it less abstract.
That's a great strategy. Let's try 88. Seema is the wife of Shyam and the daughter-in-law of Ram. Mohan is the only brother of Shyam. How is Mohan related to Ram?
Okay, if Seema is Ram's daughter-in-law, and she is married to Shyam, it logically dictates that Shyam is Ram's son.
Right, Shyam is the son. Then they say Mohan is Shaman's brother. Well, if you are the brother of the son, you are also the son, so Mohan is Ram's son.
Breaking it down makes it so simple. Let's look at 89, a pointer puzzle. Pointed to Rekha, Suresh said, "Her father's only son is my father." How is Rekha related to Suresh?
Let's translate that phrasing. Her father's only son. If I am Rekha, my father's only son is just my brother.
So the sentence actually reads, Rekha's brother is my father, which means Suresh is the child of Rekha's brother.
And what do you call your father's sister?
Your aunt. So Rekha is Suresh's aunt. That translation step is vital. What about question 90, where they code relationships into symbols, like M%N*O?
The key says a star means wife of, and a percent sign means son of. Always read coded strings carefully from left to right.
Okay, so M%N translates to M as the son of N. Then N*O translates to N as the wife of O. So how is O related to M?
Well, N and O are a married couple. N is the wife, making O the husband. And since M is N's son, M must also be O's son. Therefore, O is the father of M.
Spot on. And that brings us to segment 4, the final sprint, questions 91 through 100. This is where the exam tests cognitive agility.
Right. This is a gauntlet of totally unrelated mini puzzles. 1 second you're doing math, the next you're looking at a compass. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this section tests your cognitive flexibility under pressure.
It's like circuit training for your prefrontal cortex. Let's run through them. Question 91 is a number operation. The rule is, if a number is divisible by 3, divide it by 3, otherwise add 2 to it.
And we apply it to 15, 8, and 21, and find the sum. 15 becomes 5, 21 becomes 7, 8 is not divisible by 3, so add 2, making it 10. The sum of 5, 10, and 7 is 22.
Next, 92 is direction sense. A clock is placed so that at 6 o'clock its hour hand points north. In which direction does the minute hand point?
Visualize the clock at exactly 6 o'clock. The hour hand is pointing straight down at the 6. The minute hand is pointing straight up to the 12. They're perfectly opposite.
So if the 6 is pointing north, the 12 must be pointing exactly opposite, which is south. Easy. Next, 93 is a math operation swapping signs.
All right, the equation is 18 plus 6 minus 4 greater than 5 less than 2, but the key says greater than is plus, less than is minus, plus is divided, minus is multiplied.
Doing the substitution, it becomes 18 divided by 6 multiplied by 4 plus 5 minus 2. And we must use BUA-DMAS, right?
Yes. Do not just read left to right. Division first. 18 divided by 6 is 3. Multiplication. 3 times 4 is 12. Then 12 plus 5 minus 2 is 15.
Perfect. Question 94 is an alphabet series. CX, FU, IR, LO. What comes next?
This requires tracking 2 patterns. The first letters C, F, I, L are jumping forward by 3 letters. 3 letters after L is O.
And the second letters X, U, R, O are jumping backward by 3 letters. 3 letters behind O is L. So the next pair is OL.
Great. 95 is another series. A, C, F, J, O.
If we convert to numbers, it's 1, 3, 6, 10, 15. The gaps are expanded. Plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, plus 5. The next jump is plus 6.
And 15 plus 6 is 21. The 21st letter of the alphabet is U. Now for 96, an alphabet test. How many letters appear more than once in the word calculator?
Just scanning. C is there twice, A is twice, L is twice. The rest only show up once. So exactly 3 letters repeat.
Moving to 97, an order and ranking puzzle. A row of 50 children. Pretty is 12th from the right end, and Kunal is 20th from the left. How many sit between them?
We need a common perspective. To convert Pretty's position to the left side, it's total minus position from right plus 1. 50 minus 12 is 38, plus 1 makes her 39th from the left.
Okay, so Kunal is at 20, and Pretty is at 39.
We just subtract, right? 39 minus 20 is 19 children between them.
Careful. If you just subtract the positions, you are still including one of the boundaries. To find the strictly between number, you subtract 1 more. 19 minus 1 leaves 18 children.
The boundary trick. Okay, 98 is relative scoring. D scored more than C. A scored more than B, but less than C. E scored less than B. Who scored the second highest?
Chain them into a single flow. D is greater than C. C is greater than A is greater than B is greater than E. The sequence is D, C, A, B, E. The second highest is C.
Almost done. 99 is a coding puzzle. Mother is written as O-M-H-T-R-E. How is friend written?
Look at the visual pattern. They're just swapping adjacent pairs. M-O becomes O-M, T-H becomes H-T.
So for friend, F-R flips to R-F, I-E flips to E-I, N-D flips to D-N. The result is R-F-A-D-N. And finally, question 100.
Yes.
I honestly love this one. It sounds like a trick, but it's just beautiful arithmetic. A clock strikes once at 1 o'clock, twice at 2 o'clock, and so on up to 12 times at 12 o'clock. How many times does it strike in a full day of 24 hours?
You just find the sum of the strikes in a standard 12-hour cycle, adding 1 through 12. Using the arithmetic progression formula, 12 times 13 divided by 2, which equals 78.
But the prompt asks for a full 24-hour day. That means the clock goes through that entire 78 strike cycle twice. 78 multiplied by 2 gives us 156 total strikes.
Wow, what a fantastic way to close out the paper.
We did it. If you've been working through this with us, you have just seamlessly navigated all 35 questions. It's a massive accomplishment.
It really is.
And, I hope what you take away from this isn't just a list of answers. The key to acing the reasoning section is consistency, structured pacing, and just remaining calm when faced with chaotic constraints. Exactly. Think back to our deadlifting analogy at the start. It burns, it shakes, it feels heavy in the moment. But every single time you sketch out one of those spatial grids or carefully trace the river of a mathematical inequality, that mental muscle gets a little bit denser.
And eventually, what used to feel like an impossible heavy lift just becomes an effortless warm-up routine.
So true. Before we sign off, I want to leave you with a broader perspective to ponder. We spend hours grinding through these highly structured artificial reasoning puzzles just to pass an exam.
Right.
But think about it. How does practicing these specific constraint-based puzzles actually rewire your everyday decision-making? How does mapping out invisible variables change the way you solve messy, real-world problems long after the exam is over?
It is an empowering thought. The exam eventually ends, but that sharpened logic remains with you.
It really does. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Be kind to yourselves, keep flexing that mental muscle, and we will catch you next time.